Hello everyone, welcome to the video explaining the top 100 intros. I'll try to make it short, and if anyone has any questions, I can answer either in the R Discord or the replies of this video. Let's get started with, first we'll go order step by step of the process. So first thing obviously is the post asking for the nominations. We got a good amount of nominations. Actually, from what I looked at, last year there was like around 50 nominations. This year was more like around 40, but we ended up having more intros nominated. I think the comments in general were just bigger, and there were less comments of like a few intros. So all the intros got added to this list over here. That's all the ones that got nominated. They all got voted on by the group. We were 10. Each of us had the option to either vote for green, which meant we want this to be part of the shortlist. Yellow means we're fine with it being in the shortlist if it's needed. It's pretty much means that it depends on if there is enough intros in the green or not. Like if there's only 100 intros in the green, then there is obviously a need for the yellow. Otherwise, but we ended up having like almost 100 greens, so the yellows ended up being removed from the shortlist for that reason. And then we have the red, which just means no, it shouldn't be part of the shortlist. Yeah, there's no chance of getting votes in the first place. Yeah, so after that, I looked which had the most votes and decided the color based on that. So here is the intros that were removed from the shortlist. There's 3 codes of red. The dark red like this means that pretty much all of us voted no on this. So if someone tried to get one of these intros back on the shortlist, that will be some of the ones that would be very hesitant about adding back for that reason. The others, the middle red is just they got the regular red vote. There was actually like people split here with some green or some yellow. It wasn't like everyone agreeing that it should be red. So those are kind of open for being added back. I think there's only one intro that got added back from it, and all the other intros that got added back from it are intros in the light red, which means they were yellow. So obviously the yellow are a little closer to getting in just by the vote itself. It's just that we need to make the list shorter to begin with. So they ended up getting cut this year, which I'm pretty sure is what also happened last year, because I think people don't want to remove intros when voting, which isn't a bad thing, but I think it's definitely better like that if we're more generous on votes than not being generous on votes. Here we have the shortlist. So I got all the credits. I got most of them. I got what I could get, and the thing that I couldn't find, I was in mode, if it gets in the top 100, I'll work on getting it. If it doesn't get in, then it doesn't matter. I won't search too long for something if it's not obvious, because some intros, some rounds struggle to give credits to the people that to work on it, and that's very fun. We have all the intros here. I have the points calculated. Nothing special. I just made it. It was last year. If to get in the top 100, you needed at least 39 points. So anything above 39 points I put in gold. This year it was a low lower. There was like 10 less votes, so the minimum to get in was 31, which it has the same problem where it's very easy to get an intro in, but luckily it's not something that happened. If I look at the voting form here, that's where I counted all the different votes from everyone. You can see all the votes here. I calculated all that, and for the tiebreakers, I had to count the amount of votes each round got, and like in the bottom of the top one of it ended up being pretty interesting because there maybe it was only like 2 or 3 intros that only got 2 votes. So that means there's at least like 3 people that were vouching on one intro to get in. So I think it's already more interesting and it already feels less biased of just I'm putting that intro as 20 and I'll tell that person to put it with me and we'll just get it a free pass, and there's less of that. So I think that's cool. But obviously I think all intros deserve to be there, even if they're not as good to some degree. Or at least every intro deserves to be somewhere in the top, like 80 or 70, like that. Like anything could get in, and if they get in, it's very more biased because of how easy it is to get in, but I don't think there's something that doesn't deserve to get there. Maybe apart some of the thing that got like the dark red, but I think you could argue for most of the stuff to have a spot. So here we have the intros that got headed back, which is from Abstract Concern here to this one. They got headed back, and obviously it kind of shows that if they got removed from the shortlist, there was a reason. I mean, none of them got in the shortlist, but people wanted to vote for it, so I'm not mad about it ending them back. And obviously, the reason they were removed is because people didn't think it could get in, and it didn't get in. But if someone wants to vote for it, then I think it's fair to give them the chance to vote for what they want to vote, and that's why we accept intros being added back. I mean, that's kind of part of the whole process. There's no really wasting a vote if that's your favorite intro. Like the Dilemma Season 2 intro was the closest one of getting in, and it was like 5 points away from getting in. Yeah, it was actually close. It's not even a bad intro. It's just those intros didn't stand as much of a chance. But they didn't end up getting votes. The ones that are more annoying is adding back those intros here for them not getting votes. I mean, I understand that not everyone wants an intro added back to vote for it. But if they were removed in the first place and the person asking back for them back doesn't vote for it, it kind of breaks the point of it. But there's only 3 of them. It's not too annoying. It's just they need to be added if you weren't going to vote for it. And speaking of intros that didn't get voted for, there's a few more intros this year that didn't get vote for if we look in the current standing right here. There's all these intros that didn't get a single vote. Obviously, a lot of these, I see a bunch of intros that for me I think they're good intros that I like, that could give votes. It's just they didn't make a spot for. I didn't have a place for them, and some of them are like more. It's a good intro, but yeah, I can get why it didn't get a vote. But last year it was like more like this, the size of the list, and this year it's like had it all that, and it's kind of interesting because there was like 40 more intros, and that's around the amount of intros with Novo had on. So people kind of kept around the same amount of different intros voted, which I find very interesting. And then again, you have the points and everything. I don't have it in order in here, but yeah, that's all the points. As you can see, the top 100 ends here. Yeah, no, it's in ends here. Those two intros were actually 31 points, same as the number 100. It just ended up that with the tiebreaker, they lost to the inner intro in the first criteria. So it was very easy for me to say the other one wins and those ones are just not making it. And about that, let's go to the result sheet. That is the place where I did all the credits, fix everything, get the actual thing for the what I would put in the video. Yeah, and do all the tiebreakers, calculate which ones are new, which ones came back down or up, and you have all the ties here, and you have a few with stars there. I'll explain that. First, let's talk about the positions. It's very. There's a few things I want to mention. I find it really funny how remarkable too. Astrology 4 and WMC 26 got the same position as last year. The other thing is there's a bunch of intros that are quote unquote new, but are intros that came back from previous year. Like they did not release in the previous year. Not like Venus 7. I think Venus 7 didn't make it last year, but it didn't make it before. But stuff like I think, if I can find it, like Arcade is something that did not show up last year, but I'm pretty sure it was in the top 100 before. And like there's a few old intros like that. I think it's very funny. I mean, it's like some intros gets remembered a year and they're like, oh, I remember the intro, I'm gonna nominate it, and people see it and like, yeah, that was a good intro, let's edit it, and it actually gets added like that. And then another year, it just no one nominates it and it gets forgotten, and I kind of find it interesting which intro gets nominated. That's a cool thing to look at. And then yeah, considering about the point, considering you have like 5-way tie here, you have like 5, 4, 3. It's pretty interesting how it's broken, but pretty much this is how the tiebreaker works. If two intros are tied, first I will look on the voting answer here and count the amount of votes they both had. Whichever intros had more votes would get above in placement. After that, I would look at the highest vote for each of these intros, and whichever one has the highest vote between the two will get over it. If it's again tied, what I would do is get a little complicated here, but basically I transfer all the placement into a number from 1 to 10. So the first place is 10 points, the last place is 1 point. And it does do a summary of all the votes, and whichever number is higher will get over. And the last amount, which is happened 4 times, I think the majority of the tiebreakers got broken with the first part. Then there's a bunch of them that got broken with the second one. Then there's like 2 or 3 that got broken with this one. And then the last one, there was 4. These are the 4 that was broken here. Where I had to do the tiebreaker, I actually just asked Maxa to give me 4 numbers between 1 and 2. And I think he gave me I think he gave me 2-1-2-2. I think, where it was like alphabetical order and 2 was the second one, and you know, he picked for me. So that's why we have stuff like those. They're technically on the same place. Like every tiebreaker just tied. It's just we had to place them somehow. And Max picked a number and caused it to be placed like that. And yeah, the tiebreaker actually helped because all these steps, because let's see, those 5 have different points, but there's only those 2 that are the exact same tie. The other 3 actually had something that made them lower or higher. So that's an interesting part. But yeah, after all the points are calculated and put in the order, then I just rendered the video. That's about it about the tiebreaker now. Now about some statistics. Yeah, so I calculated intros per round. Mythical and Phobia ended up having the most intros in this year. Those one at 4, 3, 2, and those one at 1. Intros, most intro maker, you have Jacob, Shibi, and Nolan that are very high. Dafs and Gus too. Then all those ones too, all great intro makers. And production assistant, Sid Garza carrying, me making renders, obviously, Danny with the art, Largo, and all those people. All great people. And yeah, 42 entries, 0 invalid entries this year. That was pretty cool to see. I think the votes this year did not explode as much. There was like 10 less votes than last year, so considering what happened last year and people had more time, I think I'm pretty happy with that number. Especially considering I have been told there's a few people I forgot to vote and would have voted. So could have been like 45 or something like that. But yeah, I think most people were not like people that didn't have much of an idea of intros from the community, and also like everyone knew and understood how it worked. And compared to last year where there was like 10-ish invalid entries, this time I had 0, so that was very interesting to see. I was happy to, because with the amount of 42 votes, if you have to remove one, it's kind of sad. Then valid lists, of course, they're all valid. Valid votes are all valid. There was a total of 374 intros did, and with only 287 being kept, so pretty much 75% of it. So like just removing 25% save a lot of time. As someone that was part of the group that watched it in the Aria Discord, it takes a lot of time to watch it all, and yeah. 231 intros voted for, so it's all like 80%. That just shows how much intros, if people have different opinions on intros, because there's only like less than 50% that gets in. So so yeah, it really shows how much the opinion can be spread on that. Then only 56 entries without a vote. Then there's 46 new entries this year. So compared to last year had way more. Well, not way more. Well, it's 53 new entries. This time at 46. And 46 is including like around 6 or 7 and old intros that were not in the 2021, but were in 2019 or before. So intros from 2021, it's under 40, which I think is very interesting. There definitely wasn't as much as high production in 2021, considering that 2020 was the year where everyone had a lot of free time, and I think a lot of more time was spent into like production and stuff. So I think that does make sense. But I'm still happy that there's a decent amount of new stuff to mix the list up, and that's cool to see. The highest placement increase from 2020 is Modded Season 1 with 44 places. Uh, that one makes sense. I think the Drat Jokes intro was kind of forgotten at this point, but this year, uh, with the fact he also made the Astrology Season 6 one, which is a Reddit drop, so I think it gives him and an intro maker a little more views and a little more fans, and I think that's why the intro got that much of a boost in position compared to last year. And then the biggest drop is Phobia 13. Phobia 13, I mean, I love that intro personally, so I pers- I'm pretty sure it was in my top 30s in 2020. I don't know what I would do right now for it, but I think it's fair that it went down, considering that I think the popular option for voting for a Phobia intro was 17 and not 17, 18, and even 17 got I think a lot more votes. I mean, I think some definitely people, let's say, they don't want to vote too much for a same round or a same intro maker. This is the thing I realize. Like people will usually pick like intro makers have a lot of intros that can be considered somewhat similar. Uh, and obviously Phobia 13, 17, and 18 have somewhat a similar style. So I think people are gonna pick their favorite in that one. That one, and the same thing as something like a winter intro, where it's gonna have different people voting for each of ones of them, and there's stuff like that. If we look in the results, other things I can mention, Evo 19 got a big drop, same with Jean-Claude 2, Phobia 13. Not much I can explain about them just getting older and then getting lower because of that. Same with Geo 7, Jean-Claude 1. Ambition 19 is a more interesting one, just because the Ambition 19 original got uploaded for this year, because there's no longer, I think, copyright issues with the song used in the intro, because the version that was in the previous year was the Nightcore version. And so both were in this year, and the Ambition original pretty much took the place of the Nightcore one. But the interesting part is, if you look at the votes, the Ambition, the original one got different people voting for it than the Nightcore one. So like, it really is not the same person voting for those, which is very interesting. Then Neg 50 for Geo 5, Desire 5. Addiction 10 gonna gap. That's kind of interesting. It's not something I'd expect personally, but it's cool. Solitude went down, Abstraction. Agency 10 went up. Evo 20 went down. Nuzlocke 5 went down a bunch. Cynical 4 went up a lot. Praise to the Flusemaker songs. Agency 12 lost his spot in the top 25. Mythical 3 went down a lot. And the other gap is Fission 11. Fission 11 is like an intro that I see a lot of people praise for, like its visual style. I didn't realize that it wasn't this. It was this low before that. So when I saw it number 7, I was like, that makes sense. But I didn't realize until counting it that it gained 42 places. It's kind of wild. But yeah, I think that's about it for this video. It's already, I think, pretty long. And explains a lot of fun facts about this. And if you were watching this till then, I mean, there will be the podcast this Friday that I will talk more about that there. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer.